Okay, right about now, we got our very special guest in the Brother T Show studios right now. I had this man on the show about a couple of years ago, and also he does a show. He does a show called the Financial Breeze broadcast on our flagship station on thepraisehouse.com, which comes on Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern on thepraisehouse.com, our flagship station. And this is Mr. Breezy Gipson. Hey, Breeze, what's going on, man?
Hoo-yah, hoo-yah, hoo-yah,
Hoo-yah, hoo-yah. Yeah, all right.
Okay, hoo-yah.
Oh, yeah. How you doing today, man?
I'm excellent, sir. How about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful. Yeah, Breezy does, like I said, a show on our flagship station on thepraisehouse.com, the Financial Breeze broadcast, which him and Brother Jay Green co-host together. And they talk about a whole number of things concerning finances. And I got Breezy in here to talk about something that is on the rise, which has been happening since the beginning of time, since, you know, Social Security numbers have been issued in business and stuff. Youth identity theft. Now, I had you on the program about 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
And you talked to me about how it's rampant, how it's on the rise and whatnot. And I want you to come back and talk about this, you know, since I got young co-hosts, you know, and work with me and whatnot. Plus, we have youth in the midst right now. So you're an expert at this, you know, as far as, you know, protecting your identity and stuff. So tell us a little more about that.
Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to give a couple of shout-outs. First to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for allowing me to be here today.
Amen.
And second to BJG. He knows who he is. Brother James Green.
Yeah.
From flagship station, thepraisehouse.com.
Right.
And also to my pastor, which is Kenneth O. Brown out of Rome, Georgia, over at Galilee Baptist Church in Rockmart/Cedartown, Georgia. Okay.
I'll tell you what, man, we got a lot of Romans up in here. We got a lot of ties to Rome up in here. We got some people from Rome in here. Plus, I got a little association with Rome because I'm a proud alum of Shorter University. You know, Harvard on the Hill, baby. Yeah, you a Shorter man too? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hoo-yah.
Yeah, Harvard. We call it Harvard on the Hill. Yeah, I tell you what, they charge as much as Harvard. I tell you what. But anyway, so I want you to come in and talk about youth identity theft. Now, tell us the stats. Tell us, you know, why is this important for young people to know about? I could understand why, but I want you to tell, you know, my audience, why is this important to talk about, you know, youth identity theft?
Well, I'll tell you what, Brother T, you know, all you have in this world is yourself.
Right.
Okay? That's all you have. So you are very, very important to yourself. And without yourself, I mean, what do you have? Okay? So now there, unfortunately, as I was here a couple of years ago speaking with you about youth, children's identity theft, for the last 11 years now, okay, so back then it was only 9 years, but for the last 11 years straight in the United States, the number one most debilitating white-collar corporate crime, again, the number one most debilitating white-collar corporate crime is identity theft. The FTC, okay, which governs all entities as far as businesses are concerned in the United States, and that's a statistic that's coming from the Federal Trade Commission. There are more complaints received each and every year by the Federal Trade Commission in the United States concerning identity theft than there are for any other complaint, Brother T, any other. And so now identity theft is running rampant. Actually, there's so many identity thefts these days that identity theft has actually surpassed the number of crimes committed even than in the drug industry, Brother T. Now that's huge. Okay, more identity. Okay, so reason why? Because for every 700 identity thefts that are committed right now, typically only one person is ever caught and prosecuted and taken to jail for 700 to 1. So what that's doing, that's making criminals here, there, everywhere flock to identity theft to commit those kinds of crimes because they know the chances of them getting caught are very low, Brother T.
Wow. And the reason I want to talk about this because, okay, you, I, Tim, you know, anybody that's over the age of, you know, let's say 35,
Thank you for being generous.
You're welcome. Anybody that's over the age of 35 knows that back in the day, you know, we seen adults use children's social security numbers, you know, to get heat, gas, electric. When their credit was overextended with the power companies, they used their kids' social security numbers. Okay, we've seen that. This is old school stuff. But now with technology, we have, you know, internet, we have hackers, we have all sorts of unscrupulous techniques out there that makes it even rampant. And the reason I'm talking about this because I have youth in here, and I have a daughter, and I have a son, and my son's in college right now. If we would have been the irresponsible parents of using our son's social security number to get the basic necessities that we should have on our own, that it would be impossible for kids like him to get loans to go to school, you know, if needed, or like in the future get a house or get a car, get any type of credit. And that's why I brought you in to talk about this, to let the audience know that youth identity theft is on the rise now, from the thousands that was from like 30 years ago to millions of cases.
Absolutely, absolutely. And see what is happening also as a veteran of working in the realm with abused and neglected children, week to week, month to month. What I see in that era, in that realm, is that you have people who are actually, and I'm not trying to give a bad name, but
Right.
they're in there. Okay, in the mix,
Right.
as foster parents, and so the foster care system with abused, neglected children is just devastating, and there's nothing worse. I mean, it's bad enough to have to coexist and exist in that system from a young age, and what's happening now, there are so many young people who are aging out of that system, turning 18, and they're going to try to get their first apartment, their first automobile, different things, and like you say, trying to get into college and so on and so forth, and they're being turned down, Brother T, because somewhere back in the system, and many of the younger people, even the abused, neglected, when they're being shifted around from home to home, it's not uncommon for many of them to be in 5, 7, 8, 12, 19, 21 different homes, foster homes, between the ages of 3 up to about 17, 18.
Okay.
So somewhere in that loop, somebody accessed their information and, just as you said, opened up accounts for extra utilities, or they've gone and bought automobiles or whatever they've done in that child, using that child's information, and never paid for it. So when that child turns 18 and goes out and tries to do something on their own, get into college and things of that nature, they've got such a huge monstrosity of credit that has been established in their name and never paid for, and that gives them a bad record. Now, there are laws that are being looked at in Congress right now to help address that, but still, as we speak right now, those laws have not been enacted. So the system still is in effect, where our youth are actually being ravaged by older people, unfortunately, and this is something that really, really needs to be addressed, Brother T.
Yes. You have a question, Tim?
One of the things I wanted to ask you about, Breezy, is the vulnerability that young people have to what's called social engineering, which is a way of basically obtaining their information through sort of compromising them through social websites like Facebook, for instance, or just someone who pretends to be a friend, and they're able to talk to these young people and get information like their birth dates, get information that they may post online quite freely. If you look out on Facebook, a lot of young people have their actual birth date on the site, and
Right.
It's just one step from there to getting that social security number, and they're compromised.
Well, and that's a great question, because of the 7 or 800 million users that are on Facebook, one has to really recognize and be aware of the fact of those 800 million users on Facebook, there's a certain percentage of those users that are criminals.
Mm-hmm.
And they're searching exactly for that information. So how hard is it to surf through Facebook, find somebody who's using their real name, and they've got their real date of birth, and that personal information, and right there, that's a big step in them being compromised, in their information being compromised. And this subject is so widespread, it's so huge, and I really thank you just for the time to come today, but we can only actually just make a scratch in the hugeness of this type of subject, because if you really think, each and every moment of every day, babies are born.
Right.
Okay. Typically, no matter where you are, especially in the United States, in many situations, within 2 to 3 days or 2 to 3 weeks, that baby is issued a Social Security number.
Right.
Okay. So at birth, all right. So now the family is basking in the glory of having a new child, and grandma, granddad. I mean, everybody's. We're trying to give the baby all kinds of gifts that we can to splurge and splash, the baby. But somewhere in the line, that information can be compromised. Now the CIA has uncovered identity theft chat rooms. Okay. Now the main countries for identity theft are in Germany, Austria, Czechoslovakia, Russia, and Ukraine, and countries like that. Now, what happens with these CIA discovered identity theft chat rooms is that people in the United States can access information in many, many different ways. And some of those people get right on those identity theft chat rooms, and they show the thieves that are in those chat rooms the type of information that they have, and they offer it for sale. And if those people in those countries that I mentioned see that that's some information that they want to use, then they do quick money transfers and they buy that information. And suddenly, whether you're in Atlanta, Georgia, or in California, or New York, or wherever you are, Rome, Georgia, Cedartown, doesn't matter, your information suddenly is in a total different country.
Wow.
And those people in those other countries take that information and they open up online banking accounts and things of that nature, and they run those bank accounts to the max, and then seek another person to do that too, and they never pay for that information. But guess what? It's in a worldwide type of credit system, and so your name, your info, your date of birth, your social, whatever, it's in there, and that leaves a black bad mark on your name as far as your credit worthiness. There are so many types of identity theft, and especially with our youth, it's mind-boggling, Brother T.
Wow. We have Breezy Gipson on the program right now. He's talking about identity theft on the Brother T show. Okay, we see a lot of Facebook users, a lot of young people, use Facebook. And we see the hackers out there, especially those ones that, talk about, check out the new Jordans with the heels on. Check out the new Jordans, or I got me a free iPad, I can click this link and I can show you how to get that. And of course, in the end, people's accounts get compromised. Now that's the beginning, to me, I think that's the beginning step of getting information from people. Now, I want to talk about, what to look for as well as solutions if you do get your identity stolen. So first of all, I just want you to come out and say, what are the ways to prevent identity theft or prevent your identity be taken?
Well, Brother T, it's funny because many people think that identity theft all comprises your credit, but there's nothing further than the truth. There's driver's license identity theft, as well as medical identity theft, okay? Children's identity theft of the deceased. Okay?
Yes.
And where there are people who have passed away,
Yes.
and there are criminals that search for that type of information to use it and just to establish accounts and so on and so forth. Oh my gosh. And so so the banking and financial industry, actually, the banking identity theft is actually one of the least ways for a person to become a victim. Now, you can protect. Now, we're living in the information age, so our information is everywhere. You actually can go down to your local courthouse and walk in there, and there's public information.
Yeah.
People can find out who you are, where you live, how much property you've had, you can or own. You can find out whether you've been married or
Yep.
divorced. You can go to the DMV and they can find out your driving record. Okay, there's something that's called an MIB, Medical Information Bureau. They can find out whether you've been in the hospital and so on and so forth. And so there's all kinds of things. So to answer your question in a nutshell, you cannot prevent identity theft. Okay, that's like trying to put a brick wall in front of a tsunami. It's impossible. You cannot stop it. The thieves are coming up with the energy that is being used with identity theft, if that negative energy was positive energy to try to help people, there's no telling what great things that can be done, Brother T. But they're not doing that. They're using it to hurt people. And so, again, identity theft is something that cannot be stopped no matter what. And the thieves are coming out with more and more ways each and every day. However, there are various solutions to help protect yourself, in as much as if you've already become a victim of identity theft, there are things, people think that it's all about your social security number. No, it's more about your name and who you are. Because if you lose your name and who you are, you've lost everything.
Wow. We have Breezy Gipson on the Brother T Show. Breezy, now, most of the stuff that you talked about just now, is like public record, like you go to the courthouse and get deed information and all this stuff, public record. Now, do you honestly think that public records is like a bad thing, as far as, just in general? Because I understand that, we have to have access to certain things, but, public records to know about who's the owner of property and all this stuff, especially if you're not an authoritative figure like a policeman or FBI or some law enforcement. So do you honestly think, in your opinion, that public record is a bad thing because you're in the business of preventing identity theft or restoring identity theft?
Well, I really don't think public records are a bad thing, because there are just certain things that have to be disclosed for us to carry on our daily lives. However, the protection of that vital information. Now, there's public information and then there's private information. Okay?
Right.
Two totally different things. Okay. Now, your private information, now that it's just imperative that people take a better stance on protecting their own private information. Now, we've got to remember that as adults and as youth, our information right now is in every school we've ever been in, is at every doctor's office we've ever been to, is at every dentist office we've ever had, it's in every job that we've ever had. It's everywhere that we've ever been where there's a record of us. Okay, so it's not that we lose that information, it's that how well those places that we've been decide to protect our information after we've left.
Wow, we have Breezy Gipson on the Brother T Show.
Yeah, because we're talking about, it sounds to me, a crime that's fairly easy to commit, that pays off very, very well. If I were someone of a criminal nature and I'm looking at being involved in the drug trade and I'm looking at being involved in the information trade, well, the information trade is a little safer, a lot safer actually, a lot more cloaked. You can put a lot more distance between you and the crime. It sounds like we need to do more on the legislative side, but when you talk about young people and people who have had their identity stolen in this fashion, it seems like the law doesn't do a lot to help them restore themselves once this has happened.
Okay, here is one. Okay, I'm glad you asked that question, because in my experience, I've been a victim of identity theft, so I can really talk to the listeners, young or old, about these kinds of situations. It turned out that my bank account was accessed, okay, and all the money was cleared out of my bank account. And at the time, I was living in North Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Georgia, and so I reached out to the local police authorities, Fulton County Police. And in going to the Fulton County Police, they assigned me a detective. The detective wanted my information, and so on and so forth, so on and so forth. All right, and so then shortly thereafter, I believe it was about 45 days, because That's one reason that identity theft is so rampant, because the identity theft takes place and you don't know it, and then there's a cycle, whether it's a billing cycle, 30 days, 45 days later, stuff starts popping up. Okay, you're trying to track it down. Well, what happened here? Okay, well, what happened in this case, I was assigned a detective, and he looked at my information, and about 45 days later, I had a bank account in Russia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, with my bank account in Russia, now as we live here in the Atlanta, Georgia area, okay, Fulton County Police, you're thinking, okay, well, they've got some authority, they've got some clout. But see, in a situation like that, when it turns up and you've got a bank account that's in Russia that was opened by somebody using my name and my information, what authority, what jurisdiction do the Fulton County Police have in Russia? Absolutely
None.
There's the root of the issue, because identity theft is an international crime. See, it's not just neighbor to neighbor, hood to hood, it's international. So if that information is sent outside the border.
But what about Interpol? You know, can they do anything? You know, Interpol, for those that don't know, is international police. Can't they do anything?
Okay. The the society, the computer society that's being used by the criminals, Brother T, they are staying up around the clock trying to come up with ways to circumvent this system, get around this, get into that, hack into so on and so on and so forth. Now, about 4 months ago, the world experienced one of the largest identity theft situations when, of all companies, Sony was
compromised. Right.
And so each and every person in the entire world, not just the United States, who had purchased a PlayStation, and if they had entered their specific information to Sony, guess what, Brother T?
There would have been a lot of identity thefts happening, because people do that because, you know, the online gameplay. You know, I'm an Xbox user. I play Xbox online live, you know, and we have to submit credit card information and stuff in order to play online. So, yeah, I remember those compromised.
Well, please tell us that there has to be some steps that we can take to try to prevent identity theft.
And also restoration of identity theft as well.
Well, in the seminars that I give nationwide, Brother T, we're one of the solutions is the fact that I'm affiliated with a company called Kroll Worldwide. Okay, Kroll is a very, very powerful information data positive system. Okay, when I say positive, I mean on a protective end. Now, Kroll was established about 40 years ago. They are the world's utmost in accessing information on protecting people, on giving people ways to protect them. Wherever there's a leak, Kroll can find out where that leak came from, as long as it's concerning information. Kroll is so airtight that each and every time one of our space shuttles is launched, Kroll is a company that is relied upon to protect all of that sensitive data and information as it returns back into the atmosphere.
Right.
Okay. So now Kroll, again, when Enron broke down, Kroll was asked to be was brought in to restructure Enron, and actually when a few years back when Saddam Hussein had hidden assets, when a lot of that was going on, Kroll was the company that was brought in to find out where all of those assets were. So they're great. They're the world's foremost. So when it comes to identity theft restoration, Kroll actually they've got the facilities. And as I mentioned, Kroll, identity theft is an international crime. Well, Kroll is an international company. Okay, and they've got offices in many, many different countries in the world, and they've got the access to be able to take that information that has been used against you, find out where that breakdown was, and actually restore your identity back to the good that it was before all of the theft and compromising took place. So, whether there is a child, whether it's an adult, if you're single, or if you're married, husband, wife, children, whatever, okay, and through that, okay, and I'll give out a couple of websites. My main website is Legal Shield, legalshield.com, all one word, legalshield.com, and then you also can go to another website that's called greatlegalbenefit.com/breeze, and that's BREEZE. And both of those websites will give you some information, some very impactful information on ways to protect yourself in many different fashions, as well as identity theft also.
Wow, we got Breezy Gipson on the Brother T Show. Girls, do you know, with the stuff that goes on, I could own both of y'all houses right now if I wanted to.
Really?
Yeah, because I saw this on 2020 years ago, where people are doing it now. They go to Home Depot, or Office Depot rather, get these things called quitclaim deeds. They'll get them notarized down at the probate court, down at the county clerk of your county. I could say, well, I'm buying this property on this site and so forth. They go get it notarized by the county clerk. Just as simple as that. By buying a quitclaim deed at Office Depot, somebody could own your property.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
They need something where, I don't know. I think they need something where you could show more information, where you have to give a lot more information than just that.
Well, actually, now one of the best ways to begin to fight identity theft is to check your credit report. Okay. Now, anything that pops up credit-wise that you did not initiate should be on your credit report. As far as youth and children are concerned, most husband, wives, or families, or single moms, or whatever, they're worried, they're busy checking their own credit, and they never think to check their children's. So by checking to see if their child, no matter what age, from newborn up to 17, 18, if your child has a credit report, that's a flag right there.
Right.
Because especially if they're 2, 3, 5 years old.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then that gives you a means to take action immediately, because, as I said at the beginning of the interview, why let that problem go on, and then when they're 18 and they're trying to step out as an adult and they've got a load of issues that came from identity theft and somebody using their information. And so your children should not have a credit report. So wherever you are living in the United States, make sure you check that pronto.
Okay.
To see if your children have a credit report, and they should not. And then your own credit report should be checked actually very, very frequently, every month and a half, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
And there are services that do that, but I want to mention that here in Georgia, you can get a free credit report once a year from the 3 credit reporting agencies.
Right.
And oftentimes you can initiate that process online. And you can do the same thing for your children. Once a year, free credit report. So that's one way of going ahead and trying
Right.
to apply some prevention
Right. Now,
to the circumstance.
Wow. Good.
And so people typically will say, well, you all can, I don't care about my credit because my credit's bad. Y'all can have my identity. Well, that's one of the worst statements that a person can make. Okay, because again, it's not your credit that they're after; it's you.
It's your
that they're
life,
after.
right?
You're right.
It's your life.
So, people have been victims of medical identity theft, where babies have been born. Okay, here's a great scenario where these days, where there's a lot of layoffs, a scenario, husband, wife, and some kids. Okay, and if the husband's been laid off and there's no income, if the wife is sick and it's a reoccurring a health issue, and it gets to the point where the wife's just got to have some medical attention, and there's no medical insurance there or money, that's a prime setup
Right.
for identity, because they will actually sometimes steal somebody else's identity and let the wife go to a medical facility to seek treatment and get treatment,
Right.
even as high as having babies, and that's not their information.
Wow. So one last question, Breezy. if anybody wants to get information on, slight prevention but restoration of identity theft, they want to reach out to you, how would they go about doing that?
Well, just simply give me a call. Okay, my number can be accessed 404-438-4258. And again, by looking at my websites, especially the second site that I gave out, that's called greatlegalbenefit.com/Breeze, BREEZE. That will just give them all kinds of ways to get in touch with me right then, where they can actually type some things in and type some concerns and so on and so forth, and I'll receive it immediately.
Okay, or you can check Breezy out every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern on the praisehouse.com, our flagship station. You can check him out on the Financial Breeze broadcast. Him and Brother Jay Green talk about stuff like this on the broadcast on the praisehouse.com every Wednesday at 12 p.m. noon on the station. So, hey, Breeze, any last parting words before I let you go, man?
Well, as always, you're a complete professional, Brother T.
I try to be.
And your staff that you have put together today, and with the questions and so forth, that's really enough to make me feel extremely warm. So you're very professional. Thanks for the opportunity to come on and share this impactful information, and to peace with you, Brother T.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you for taking the invite. Thank you for taking the invite. Breezy Gipson of the Financial Breeze Show that comes on every Wednesday at 12 p.m. on our flagship on the praisehouse.com. And this is the Brother T Show. 888-690-1841 is the phone number. BrotherTShow.com is the website. Coming up next.